Shalom. All praises to the Heavenly Father. Apukuya. Praise be to the earthly mother, the Pachamama, and all of her earthly angels, their Kadeshoit. Praise be to the Holy Spirit, the Kahe. In the name of Hamashiach, Motsah the Lamb, unification to the nation. So, guys, I mean, I kind of already touched on this, but I wanted to add this to the series, just because, you know, so people can kind of have this all in one spot. So they can view some of my opinions as to, more so of how or what we originally look like, right? And, you know, getting into the truth, because a lot of people, they make too many damn assumptions. And to a lot of these people, everyone was black. Everyone was so-called black. It doesn't make any sense to me. The Chaldeans were black. Shem, Ham, and Japheth, they were all dark-skinned Nubians. All this stuff is not true. You have some people who are darker skinned, some people who are lighter skinned. And I've gone over before that the people of Japheth were always pretty light skinned. Right? They were always pretty light skinned. Reason being is because they did not get on the ark like Shem and Ham. Right? Shem and Ham were darker skinned. Japheth was lighter skinned because he did not get on the ark, and he was in the valley of Halia, or the Caucasus area, right? And he was mixing in with those people. So Japheth looks whiter, quote unquote. Now, do I think that the people of Japheth are white? How we view white people? No. The children of Japhet, I believe they look more Turkish, more what people would call an Assyrian. Dark hair, dark eyes, but maybe like high yellow, that sort of look. Right? Of course, some of them have, different colored eyes, because the children of Japheth are mixed up. Children of Ham and Shem, they're pretty black and brown around that skin color. And of course, they have range, but you know what I mean. So we're going to get into, what did Sarah look like? Who was Sarah? And I actually forgot to get one scripture, but I bring this out all the time. You guys know it well. And we're going to start with this, man. So, as you guys already know, and the brother of Jared, if you guys don't know, the brother of Jared professes that Sarah actually does not come from Shem. Sarah comes from the lineage of Japhet. Wait, first of all, who are the people of Japhet? The people of Japhet were pretty much, they were like the people who spread wickedness all around the earth at first, right? Before it was Canaan, or maybe during the time of Canaan, it was Japhet. They were the ones who were spreading all this wickedness. You hear about all these stories about these, these white peoples who are all around the world, all these blue-eyed statues. I did make a video on this already, so I'm not going to get into detail about it, but that's just a rundown on who the people of Japhet are. They are your so-called ancient, not necessarily white, but light-skinned people, right? And let's read this real quick. This is First Aki, chapter 66. And it came to pass, as Aki grew into manhood, he dwelt among the Erkadeshoit. In those days, Semihaza spoke to the hearts of many. And one of the sons of Noah, named Japheth, whose name means to enlarge hell, fought and brought back the evils of the Nephilim and the secret combinations of the fallen. So, this is what the people of Japhet were doing. They brought back the evils of the Nephilim from old. They did. And they spread it all around the world. And they enslaved many different peoples. And we're in 1 Haki chapter 3, verse 20. And this came about by the lack of faith of his wife in the vision of her husband. And the doing of Sarah displeased the Lord greatly. And she was the lineage of Japhet, who had found and brought back the ancient records of Cain after the flood. And she too in her youth had studied these wicked writings. And in this thing Semihazet determined he now had the upper hand. But it was not the firstborn of the heart of Abraham, and thus he would not view this son as the element of righteousness before the Lord, because the son came in fornication. So, there you go. Sarah, she comes from a wicked lineage. Right? Didn't you guys wonder why Abraham told Isaac go all the way to the high reaches of Padan Aram to get a wife? Why would he tell him to do that? Unless I'm getting it mixed up. But either way, he did not say take a wife from Ur of the Chaldees. No, he said go somewhere else. Isn't that bizarre? Why would he do that? There's a reason for it. There's a reason for it, bro. But we're going to continue because we have to gain more context on the people of Japhet. Now I just want to read this. Now this is Genesis chapter 10. Now these are the generations of the children of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And according to them were sons born after the flood. The sons of Japhet, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, and Tubal, and Meshach, and Tyrus. Now not all of those are the descendants of Japhet. Like Javan, he's not the descendant of Japhet. He's actually from the seed line of Cain. Right? But the reason that a lot of these people were like put in the category of being a literal descendant of Japhet is because it's their close proximity. And they just don't know. If you have two group of people who mixed in together and look like each other, are you going to be able to tell the difference? No, those are all just the Gentiles, right? Those are all just the people of Japhet. But not all of them literally come from Japhet. The Canaanites are not the literal seed of Ham. Canaan comes from that same area that the seed line of Cain came from. The same area that Japhet came from, the Caucasus Mountains, the valleys of Halea. They both come from the same place. And Canaan pretty much lived among the people of Ham. So you have two people, or you have two groups of people who aren't literal descendants of these two sons of Noah. But, probably because of the limited knowledge of Aaron, this is what was written down. So, I want you to remember this. Tubal, right? Tubal, he's a son of Japhet. Now we're in the book of Jasher. We're in chapter 17. And in those days, in the 91st year of the life of Abram, the children of Chittim made war with the children of Tubal. For when the Lord had scattered the sons of men upon the face of the earth, the children of Chittim went and embodied themselves in the plain of Canopia, and they built themselves cities and dwelt there by the river Tibru. And the children of Tubal dwelt in Tuscana, and their boundaries reached the river Tibru. And the children of Tubal built a city in Tuscana, and they called the name Sabina, after the name of Sabina, son of Tubal, their father, and they dwelt there unto this day. And it was at that time the children of Chittim made war with the children of Tubal, and the children of Tubal were smitten before the children of Chittim, And the children of Chittim caused 370 men to fall from the children of Tubal. And at that time the children of Tubal swore to the children of Chittim, saying, You shall not intermarry among us, and no man shall give his daughter to any of the sons of Chittim. For all the daughters of Tubal were in those days fair, for no women were then in the whole earth so fair as the daughters of Tubal. And all the daughters of Tubal were in those days fair, for oh, I already read that, sorry. And all who delighted in the beauty of women went to the daughters of Tubal and took wives from them. And the sons of men, kings, princes, who greatly delighted in the beauty of women, took wives in those days from the daughters of Tubal. There you go. See, I'm just going to, say what the scripture says. Again, I don't have any horse in the race. Now, I'm not trying to get at the fact that I think that white women are attractive. They're not my type at all. But, I understand that for a lot of people, they actually are. For whatever reason, that's their thing. That's cool. But for a lot of people, they are. So I kind of see similarities. As it says in the scriptures, there's no new thing under the sun. Everything keeps repeating. Everything goes in a cycle. Everything keeps happening over and over again. Right? Well, let's continue. And as you guys know, I'm saying that the Chaldees was in this area. I'm just making that clear. Now, we are in the book of remembrance, the Essene of Haggai. We're in chapter 13, verse 50. And I read this all the time, but let's read it again. And there he found a vast marshland to dwell in, that was much like the land of Mayween, and it had 2 rivers and a saltwater sea. And because the Lord had given him a Urim, they named the valley of the marshes the land of Ur. And any of those who had previously lived there had fled at the breakup of the society of Seku. And the children of Sheari were called the people of Oma. And in the times of the flood, a people called the Chaldeans set upon them, and took possession of their land, and made the people of Uma their slaves. And the Chaldeans called Sheari Arphaxad according to the manner of their own language. And in this way, that Sheari became a remnant of the holy city of Mayween. And the children of this man were obliged as slaves. Not all of the Shemites. Now, of course, the other Shemites, like the children of Aram, they did get enslaved by, a certain group of white giants. They say out of their own oral history that a group of white giants came and enslaved them. They said that. So this is just talking about this right here. Well, actually, no, it didn't say that they enslaved them. It says that they set upon them, and they were taking advantage. They were abusing their women. They have a whole oral history about it. But look, this group of Chaldeans enslaved this group of Shemites, right? Let's continue. And I beheld with Urim that Sheari lived for 100 years, after he and his wife left the encampment of his ancient father, and the place where he dwelt, after the covenant of Gabriel had begun to be fulfilled, with the return of Mayween to Eden, was called the land of Ur, because he was the keeper of the Urim. And the Lord had Sheari remain there, so he could establish a people after his own heart. And he set the Urim with Sheari, so that the ancient righteous would endure among the people, even unto the time that he would become a man of flesh among them. And I know that Abraham descended from Sheari, and it was made known to me that his people were the original people of that place. And they are known to this day as the Marsh people. Hold up. Who were the first Americans? Or, you know what I mean. Who were the first people in Brazil? Where was the Lucia skull found? Let's look that up real quick. Lucia woman is a name for a upper Paleolithic period skeleton of a Paleo-Indian woman who was found in a cave in Brazil. And they profess that this woman, she was not a quote unquote African, but rather she was something of an Australoid or an Oceanian. Right? Does she have to look like this? I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But the point is that this was a person who had this sort of look, right? That was found in where? In Brazil, among this marshland. The original people of that place. Okay. And long after She'ari departed from the temporal world, there arose a man named Kaldu, and he was a descendant from among a group of slaves who were left behind by the masters of Seku. And when they gathered into the valleys of Halia, and the Caucasus Mountains, and he was the son of one called Kesed, who descended from Japhet. And after he became a master of Seku, and he was an overseer of slaves himself. And it was Kaldu who moved in upon the people of She'ari and caused his own people to corrupt themselves by once again holding slaves. And the people of She'ari were thus set in bondage and became servants of the Chaldeans, and Abraham himself was thus a slave, who later escaped into the north country, where the old encampment of Noah was. And the people of Abraham kept the idol houses of the Chaldeans. And what became of the Urim I do not know, but I suppose the Lord took it to himself. And as to the Thummim of Enoch, it probably went the way of all the earth. So that's what happened, right? Abraham, where did he go? I believe went to Upper Mesopotamia. So Abraham, he escaped, I'm guessing, to Padan Aram, or that area. Yeah, guys, I do not believe in that map anymore that they made. This map that's all the way at the end of this book, where they try to name where things are. Nah, this stuff is BS, bro. It's not accurate. This map is not accurate in my opinion. It doesn't make any sense to me. So that's their map. We're gonna move on. And when I used to look at it, I saw a marshland and a very pleasant place that affords abundant protection for my family. And I knew when I beheld this with Urim that this was the very vision of Soko in her service to Anokaset, that's the wife of She'ari, for her name means to be a protector. And She'ari said, perhaps now I have found you, grandfather, and my soul is made whole. My labor here and nod is complete. Soon we shall depart from here. And I saw with Urim as I beheld these things, that She'ari and Soko would go to the marshes, much like those in which his ancient people of Anak were raised. And he would go to dwell in like manner, as the people of Aha, the people of Ham. So, the people of She'ari dwelt like the people of Ham. Let's move on. And the reason, bro, the Amazonian Brazilians, it's a bit of a contradiction, but these two groups, this group They share ancestry with the ancient uh, Australoidic peoples. So they are probably from Shayari too. The Native Americans have some sort of quote unquote Australoid lineage. We all do. Alright, where do I want to go to now? I pretty much said this, so I don't really need to go over this. Let's move along. So, now this is what I'm talking about, bro. You have they call this the ancient quote unquote black uh the ancient black civilization. Bro, I understand they don't have straight hair. You know, they do have curly hair, but these aren't depicting black people. Like, we have to really stop lying to ourselves. Could they be melanated? Sure, but they're not phenotypically like black people. They're not. Like, we have to really stop lying to ourselves. Look at their nose. Black people do not have, or quote unquote black people, they don't have nose bridges like this. Their noses also aren't hooked like this. Their facial hair does not grow like this, and neither does their hair. So, it doesn't make that much sense to me. If this was a quote unquote black person, then this beard, if it's this long, it would be like an afro, pretty much. And his hair would be going upward, not downward, not being relaxed. So that doesn't make any sense to me. I understand people weren't who they say that they are today, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna lie to myself, bro. Like, that doesn't make any sense. These are the children of Japhet. Look at them. These are children of Japhet. These kind of would be like Turkish peoples. That's the best way I could describe them. And I looked up. Well, what do people say? Like, cause I when I first typed in ancient Assyrian, ancient Chaldeans, I get ancient Chaldeans were black, and then I'm like, okay, well, let me just search that and let me see what comes up. And then everyone uses this picture for every damn thing. Like, they use this for the Israelites. Now they're gonna use it for the Chaldeans. Then they use it for the Nubians. Like, come on, bro. Seriously, seriously. Were the ancient Assyrians black, or is this just Afrocentric myth? I also think the Sumerians were called black-headed people. Does anyone know anything about this? And they could have been, but honestly, this does not look like a quote-unquote black person. This looks like a melanated person, but come on now. Like, it's just, do black people have unibrows? Do they have uh long 2C hair? No, like, that's not how they look. So we just gotta stick to the truth, man. Look at these noses. Do quote unquote black people have noses like this? Not really. They don't look like this, bro. They don't look like this. So I'm not gonna lie to myself. And the Chaldeans, man, why do they have all these blue-eyed statues every damn where? Now, some of these could be fake. You have some statues like this. You could say, oh, this kind of looks like a Negro, which it does. It does. But not all of them do. That's kind of my point. And maybe Chaldea was a big melting pot, because it probably was. Let's get to some pictures. Like this is a Sumerian, which is really someone from Japhet probably. Look at this face. Let's move on. This is also a an Assyrian, Sumerian, Japhethic type of person. Now, are they melanated? Yeah. Do they have curly hair, kinky hair? Sure. But they're not quote unquote black. Like, this does not look like a quote unquote black person. What black person has thin lips and a big ass nose like this? No, bro. That don't make any sense to me. Now, this is how I believe the people of She'ari looked. You're Afro Brazilians. Right? These were the Chaldeans. There goes your Chaldeans. I just looked up Turkish women. There's someone's type. I'm sure they're beautiful in their own right. I'm not really feeling them, but you know, it's all good, right? But that's kind of more how Japhet looked, right? Kind of, right? Not maybe fully, but kind of. And this is your Afro Brazilians. Can you even say, oh, maybe Abraham looked like this? Maybe. I'm sure maybe. I don't know. It would make sense though, because why would the Midianites be so dark skinned unless Abraham was relatively dark skinned? So I do assume that Abraham was what you consider to be a Negro. But Sarah being from Japhet and also being from Chaldea, and I'm seeing all these statues, you know, they like with blue eyes and big noses like this, like they look like Turkish type of people. They don't look like black people. And Sarah, she was a princess. So if she's a princess and Abraham was a slave, how are they gonna look? It's kind of just common sense, but again, a lot of like Brazil, they got a lot of connection to Africa. Their culture is very similar because they dwell like the children of Ham, right? The children of She'ari, they dwelt like the children of Ham. And then, this is the in between. When you got this and this, you're going to start making other peoples. So that's kind of my theory on what happened and what the Chaldees is. Because notice, Abraham, he still never said, where's Abraham? Abraham never said to go to the Chaldees to get a wife. He ain't say that. He ain't send Ishmael there. No, he didn't do it. And that kind of tells me something, man. So I hope you were edified. I hope you learned something and keep digging because there's so much more you can dig on. And if you don't agree with me on how Japhet looked, then prove it. Give me some sources to show me how you think Japhet looked. But I'm not gonna argue whether Sarah was from Japhet or not. I just read it to you in the book. I'm not arguing with that. If you don't agree, you don't agree. But the book said she's from Japhet, so she's from Japhet. Now, if you want to argue about how Japhet looked, okay, we can have that discussion. But let's not make people look a certain way just because we want them to look a certain way, if you know what I mean. May peace be with you. Selah Kula.